Okay, hello and welcome to the A.D.H.Deep-Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. This is episode 102, I think. I was going to do an episode with Emma Sheridan today where we talked about our recent anniversary trip to Colorado, because that was a super substantive trip. We did a ton of stuff, and I think there's like some life lesson type adjacent stuff, or adjacent type stuff to talk about being brave, and just about like a recap of a cool experience that I think we will probably still talk about on the next episode. But because of some scheduling issues, mostly on my end, because I procrastinate and push filming these episodes until the very last minute, we were going to do that today. It just did not work out that way. So with these episodes lately being every 2 weeks, you'll probably see us talk about that on the next episode. But right now, I am probably frustratingly scratching the microphone with my jacket. So let me move this shit out of the way here. You see my little camera shirt. Show a little bit of shirt cleavage. I'm out in the car right now, just because there is plenty of stuff going on inside the house, and it's just a tiny little studio apartment. Laundry is being done, dishes are being done. There's 400 dogs everywhere. Emma also has her own stuff to do. And so I figured it would probably be more efficient and quiet if I was out here in the car. So I'm just chilling in the parking lot. Good old-fashioned car road cast, except we're not on the road. There's plenty of stuff that I could talk about today by myself, so I figured I may as well just knock out a solo episode. And then we get her in for episode number 2. First and foremost, gosh, where do we start? So next week we're going to talk, or next episode, Emma and I will probably talk a little bit about like a brave experience that we both encountered. And it also is like relatively adjacent to the arts in general. And so when it comes to being brave and the arts, I've got a couple of things that I am currently dealing with, going through, creating, making. But first, a Celsius. Got to crack that bad boy open. They don't sell the fantasy vibes anymore. Well, they maybe sell them, but not in my neck of the woods. So sparkling retro vibe has been where I've been at lately. So pardon me as I sip. Last episode, featuring George Despotis, was a really nice insight into my own creative process. And I talked to him a little bit about whenever I write movies or screenplays or scripts or short films or whatever, because of my, what I would consider juvenile writing style, it always feels like the moment I'm leading up to is the main character's death. And therefore, the main character's likely suicide. I've been trapped in this, decade and a half long spiral of like, if you write what you know for so many years now, I have wanted to kill myself. And if you're tuning into this podcast new, wow, what a wild first episode. I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. I would consider myself happy in this moment. This is what a lot of that episode was about, is like, what do you write about when your entire writing style up until this point has been about like depression and sadness and suicide and whatever, and now you're happy. And if you're supposed to write what you know, I don't know what it's like to write happy. And in having that conversation, I had talked to him about a script that I had written a long time ago, or an idea for a script that I had a long time ago, where it was these two characters making art together, and then the twist was, right when you think that one of them's going to kill themselves, it's the other one that kills themselves. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, what a twist. What a story. What a journey for you as an audience member to go on. It kind of just sat in limbo for years. I'm telling you, this idea came about, not just the like, and then he kills himself of it all, but the idea of these two characters, whose last names I will choose to leave out because it's also relevant to the story what their last names are. But there are these characters named Alex and Jeremy, who I came up with Ethan Hingston, friend of the show, next year it will be half of my life ago. We were 17 when we came up with these characters. They're two friends who make a particular type of art, who have like a falling out, and then they get back together, and then they maybe have another falling out and whatever. And the whole story is supposed to be about like their artistic journey. But the story has gone through so many reiterations, right? They were this type of creator, then they were this type of creator, then one of them killed himself, then the other one killed himself, then neither of them killed himself, then maybe both of them killed himself and whatever. And it, again, just over and over and over again. Also, apologies in advance. I'm right next to the airport, so you're gonna hear lots of planes. I actually just saw a jet plane, like a fighter jet, zip by. And I know that there's military bases all over the place, but we are currently at war. So who knows what the hell that could have been about. Anyways, so these two characters have just existed in my brain for almost half my life, and I've never known what to do with them because I just kept doubting what they would inevitably end up becoming. Not just like what type of creators would they be, but like, again, if I'm stuck in my own brain and I go, one of these days I'm going to kill myself, or what's the point of being alive, or whatever, then I would write X amount, fall into some sort of depressive slump, and then go like, what's the point? I don't need to finish this story. This movie's never not going to be made anyway. And then you find out over the years that not only are movies like excruciatingly difficult to make, but like they're also very expensive and they take a long time. And more often than not, like you're paying an absurd amount of money out of your pocket, even aside from the like crowdfunding of it all, to pay actors, to pay crew, to to feed everyone, to pay for like spaces and locations. Then there's a whole post process. Then there's a whole like who's gonna watch it? How do you market it? There's a budget there and whatever. And it over the years has been such an intimidating process to me that it's made me second guess the creative process in general, such that I haven't finished it. It's still not done. I'm almost 32. I wrote this, or these characters were created when I was 17 years old. But the issue, and the thing that I keep coming back to every single time I revisit this script, is like, I love these guys. I love these characters. I've certainly put a lot of my own life into the characters' stories, but I've written them in such a way that it was like, I would love to be supported and loved by these guys, because at their core, they really care about each other. They're really good friends to each other. And there's twists and turns and tension and, antagonists along the way through this story. There's a lot that I'm keeping close to the chest. But I have just for so long wanted to see not just these characters like succeed, but I've wanted their story to be told, because some of it is kind of technically my story. And it has become this meta process where I am writing a story, or I am struggling to write a story about creators who are struggling to create a thing. And again, I've had so much tension in my own life being like, it's going to be so hard to eventually get this made, that eventually I just back out and I don't commit and I don't finish it. But as I'm sure we'll talk about in the next episode, this is going to sound so douchey, but to be an artist is also to be vulnerable and to be brave. And on the last episode of the podcast, God love him. I love George to death. He has a lot of creative insight that like I need in my life. He also does a lot of writing, and like it's something that I think he's really good at. And I really like crave his advice. Over the years, I have come to him about this story idea, and many, many times, and again, God love him, he doesn't mean this maliciously. He more means it for me to protect my own peace. I think even in the last episode, he's like, I don't think you should like give up on these guys, but like you should maybe just like let it go. Like if you have spent 17 years putting all of your time and attention into this one story that isn't even like you're running into like writer's block, you're running into like writer's paranoia, well then let that go. And does that mean letting the characters go? Maybe, because I also have 1.5 billion other ideas for other stories. And maybe I should give those stories space. Excuse me, holy shit. Maybe I should give those other stories some space in the light. But every time I go back to those other stories that I have ideas for, those other half-written scripts, those other unfinished scripts with half thoughts and half-baked ideas and characters that I only barely know, I get a few pages into that script and I go, but what about Alex and Jeremy? I'm like leaving them in the dust. There is another fighter jet going by. This is crazy. Sorry, I'm in Michigan. I'm used to being up north where I was like near like a handful of like military bases, and I've been near the airport for a while, and I never really see those fighter jets. But I've seen 2 in the last 30 minutes. The show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. They're probably just landing at the airport because that's what they do. But I just keep coming back to like, what about Alex and Jeremy? They're just sitting, waiting for someone to believe in them. Because again, it's a very meta process. I'm writing a story about creators struggling to create something. And the longer I wait to finish the script, or the longer I postpone it, or the longer I like exist in this fear that like maybe their story will never be told as a movie, it'll only be told as a script, the more their story doesn't get told. And as you can tell, or as you've been able to tell if you're a longtime listener of the podcast, I'm not very good at being like present or in a moment or focusing on one thing at a time. So every time I come to the script, or have come to the script, I've been like, yeah, well, how am I going to shoot that scene though? Or like, who's going to play that character though? Or like, how am I going to get the money to do that scene or whatever? Instead of just writing the fucking script, just finish the story first and then worry about the rest. Because what's going to have to happen is I'm going to have to finish writing the story. Then I'm going to need to go through and do revisions. Then I'm going to need to send this to somebody whose creative vision I really care about, or whose critiques and constructive criticism I trust and believe in, for them to do some revisions or make some suggestions. Then I'm going to have to come through and do a third pass. And then after that third pass, then I'm going to have to do some like finagling to make sure that everything logistically could be shot if I ever wanted to shoot it as a film. And then if I do get to that point, then I'm probably going to have to do some limitations, and maybe I have to have some filler. Maybe I didn't write enough. This is just the first pass that I still, since 17 years old, I'm almost 32, I have not done yet. I haven't finished the first pass. And so yes, George had a point. Like maybe I need to let these guys go. But the day after that podcast, I went, no, I refuse to do that. And that was 2 weeks ago. And I've written more in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 17 years. I know these characters better than I ever have. I've introduced additional characters to their world. I've given them a purpose. I've come up with an ending. I've built a mood board around what I want, like a musical mood board around the like tone that I want this film to convey. Which I guess I could pivot to Scrubs here. It's actually relevant. Scrubs is my favorite show of all time, hands down, unequivocally. No question. It's one of the biggest creative inspirations of my creative pursuit. And not just in tone, but in music. I guess maybe we'll talk about tone and music here. But the tone is like, it's Turk and JD, right? It's so much more than just Turk and JD. There's a whole universe built around that, but it's a long-form show that's essentially about JD. But his friendship with Turk is a big part of the show. And aside from just the friendship, There's a lot of wacky, zany, silly, funny moments of that show. It is a sitcom in the sense that like it is mostly considered a comedy. But it's like 60% comedy. 40% of that show is raw, honest, heartfelt, emotional truth about what it's like to deal with relationships and loss and the minutia of life in general. What it's like to maintain a friendship when work is on the line. There's a lot of heart. And the way that heart comes through has always felt like so real and honest to me. And everything that I've ever written with any even small semblance of heart has been like, ooh, this is how they would, or in my mind, just to be clear, I'm not that great of a writer at this point. I know I will become a better writer the more writing that I do, but in my mind, my juvenile mind, it was always like, this is how they'd do it on Scrubs. This is how that moment would hit. So it was very inspirational for me, tone-wise. But in order to drive that tone home, to drive that point home about the tone, the show Scrubs had a really good score, a really good soundtrack. The writers, creators, Krista Miller, the executive producer and the showrunner's wife. So Bill Lawrence is the creator of Scrubs. His wife, Krista Miller, who also plays Jordan on the show. My understanding is she did a lot of like the song selection for the show. And a lot of those moments, this is true of all media, that like audio is 70% of the battle. Like, you can't have a moment where someone is like sad and crying and have the like Benny Hill theme song playing, because like the music has to, or the sound has to match the emotion or be there to heighten the emotion. And Scrubs was always so good at that. So much of my like indie music taste comes from Scrubs. And so I figured for the film process to like inspire me, I should like have a music mood board. So I made a playlist on Spotify filled with songs that I think match the tone that I'm going for. Many years ago, when I had come up with an ending that's close to the ending that I have now, but it wasn't the ending. This was like right before I moved to New York. I remember when Ethan and I were first coming up with this idea, we found on Bandcamp, I think we found it on Bandcamp or YouTube, I don't know. I ended up buying this song on Bandcamp years later. This song by a band who I will remain nameless at this time. They had this song that just exactly matched the tone of the ending that we originally were going for. And for 17 years, that song has been in my head as like, when I think about this movie, I think about that song. And right before I moved to New York, I couldn't find that song on YouTube anymore. I was like, no, like this is why I'm going to New York. Like I want to like be something. I want to make something. I want to create something. I want to be an artist. And like, I'm going to finish this movie while I'm in New York. Spoiler, I did not do that. But in order to like inspire myself, I want to have this song like at the ready. And so I found them and it on Bandcamp, and I messaged them and I was like, I just want you to know, like, this song has been the inspiration for this idea I've had for years. And I have always wanted it to be the song that like ends the film and rolls into the credits. I don't know what I gotta do. I don't know who I gotta pay. I don't know what kind of permission structure I need to get this song to be part of my film. But like, if you have any insight on that, please let me know. And then there was another song on their Bandcamp that I had never heard before, which was like, it was the exact opposite vibe of the ending that I was going for, but it like sparked inspiration for a scene. And I was like, oh my God, I want this song to be for this scene too. So I just messaged him. I was like, how do I go about getting to use this music? And many months later, the artists messaged me back and were like, so that second song that you referenced, actually we can't give you the rights to use that because that was picked up by like a big vehicle company and used in their marketing for, I'll actually just say this is an Australian band, but it was used as marketing for their, for a particular vehicle campaign. Sorry, I got distracted. There's somebody walking alongside the road here and they were like staring at me for a little while and I got uncomfortable. But this band said, I can't give you the rights to this song because it's already used for a very popular marketing campaign. And this company paid us like tens of thousands of dollars for a singular use of this song. But this original song that inspired the film's big moment is like ours. We haven't given it to anybody. We haven't sold it to anybody. It's just kind of a song that like sits around that like will probably never see the light of day because it came out before they were part of like a record label. And I don't know how long this holds up. I don't know how long this permission structure holds up. I don't know if it holds up in perpetuity. I don't even know if them like emailing me is enough to allow me to do it. But they said, if you want to use this, like it's yours. We're giving you permission to use it. You don't need to pay us anything. And then it was a big, long email. It was a very heartfelt email, and I really appreciated it because it seemed like they appreciated that I was inspired by their music, which as a musician, God, there's no better feeling. That's what we do it for. But they basically were like, yeah, you can do it. You can use it. It's yours to do with as you please. And whether or not that remains true, had they said no, it's very possible I would have given up at that moment because I've been like, well, that was the whole point. It was all built around this song anyway, which is dumb. You don't write something with one single song in mind thinking that like, well, this is the thing that if one song makes or breaks the movie, that's a problem with the movie, not a problem with the song. Because there are millions of songs, billions of songs, and you could find something that matches the vibe. But all that to say, that gave me inspiration for the next chunk of writing that I did when I was in New York. Because I was like, you know, I've got the permission now. I can actually do something with this. And so the characters changed and they molded and they formed and they went on a new path, a new journey. And again, I let the script go. I let it pass me by. But still to this day, as I get closer and closer to actually having this finished finally, I believe in the ending or the beginning. It could even be the beginning. I don't know. It just matched the tone of the film so well in my brain that every time I think about these characters who I love and care about deeply, who I want to see succeed, who I want to see represented on the big screen, my mind immediately goes to that song. And there's something cosmic there. Like, I want this song to be heard by people because it will drive home the point or it will set the tone. I want these characters to be seen by people because I think people will also love these characters. I want their stories to be told because I think that they have a substantive life that will feel relatable, a little sad. Some of them go through some tragic stuff. I want people to root for Alex and Jeremy the same way that I'm rooting for them now and have been rooting for them for 17 years. So what I'm saying, all this to say, I believe in this script more than I ever have. And when I originally was like, oh no, I'm happy, what do I do with that? I was scared about like, well, I don't want to write something. I don't want to write something happy and peppy and whatever. Which I think is a dumb way to think anyway. I don't think that's the right way to go about this. But the difference in the happiness versus the sadness is not in what I write. It's what I do with what I've written. Because if I'm sad and depressed and lonely and afraid and suicidal and whatever, then my writing is hindered by that because I go, well, what's the point of finishing it? What is the point of finishing this sad story if nothing's going to happen with it anyway because you're going to kill yourself? But now, in this happy moment, I go, yeah, well, you've got this really important story to you that you care about that has some elements of tragedy, that has some elements of creative bravery and love and friendship and heartbreak and all this kind of stuff. Now I need to embrace that happy to do something with it, to make it, to finally make it, or at least try. So my hope is, I can't set projections because that's unfair, but my hope is, because I've been writing, if not every day, then every other day. I've been writing more of this story and fleshing out the world, and like, I know this is just draft one. I've gotten to a point where I go, okay, I can already see some plot holes. I can already see some things that I wrote on page 3 that do not make sense on page 65, that I will have to, in the second draft, go back and fix. But the more I know this world, and the more I know these characters, and the more I know where they're going and how the film ends, which I do now. I now know what happens between where I'm at in the script and what happens at the end. I just need to write it. Like, there's no more like there are certain things that characters might say to each other that I don't know yet because I haven't heard the conversation. I haven't seen them talk to each other yet. But I know that the plot points and the beats and the big moments of the script, I know what happens between now and the end. So there's no more guesswork there. That's the hardest thing, is being like, well, yeah, but what happens? Now it's just, well, what are the steps we take to get there? So as soon as revision 1 is done, or pass 1 is done, I'm going to sit in that moment and I'm going to celebrate it for a minute. I'm going to be present in the fact that I finally wrote the damn thing. Then it gets harder. Then I'm going to have to revise. Then I'm going to have to fix. I'm going to have to fix the plot points or the plot holes and whatever, and like make some changes, maybe add, maybe subtract if it's too long or whatever. Then again, I put it in somebody else's hands who I trust, and I say, like, read this. What am I missing? They send it back to me. I do another pass. I send it back to them. Maybe I send it to somebody else. I don't know. It's a long time between now and when it gets made. But for the first time ever, I'm very ahead of myself. I recognize this. I'm getting way too far ahead. But I'm not seeing the future as a hindrance. I'm seeing the future as like I should start planning for that now then. What would it look like to crowdfund this? What do these characters look like in my mind? What is my like typecast? Who do I know who, even if they don't portray these characters, are like, yeah, I think Jeremy looks like this guy. And I think these other characters look like this person. And this location where they interact with each other, that kind of looks like this diner that I, used to go to or whatever. Like, I'm starting to envision how I would shoot this. Who are the people I would want as part of my team? Because it's an indie film that will have a micro budget. And there's a lot of practice I need to do between now and then. I need to make more narrative projects, some short films to like get back in the like, what is it like to make a short film and be a part of a team and direct other people? I'm doing a lot of music videos coming up. So like, there's a lot of more like practice when it comes to my visual style. I'm now like inspired in a way that I have not been since the earliest days of like the conceptualization of this, conceptualization, whatever, of this film. And so I know it's going to get made. I know I will make this movie. And that's exciting to me because, you know, if I have my way, let me put it this way. If I was 17 again, and I could see into the future, and I could see that I'm still working on this fucking thing when I'm 32, might be a little defeated. I'd be like, well, what? God, I've only been alive for 17 years and it's going to take double my life to even finish the first pass of the script. If I saw into the future now and I saw that I'm not going to make this movie until I'm 49, how upsetting would that be? And so now I have to envision a future where I finish this version of the script before the summer. And then I finish the next pass before the winter. And then I get feedback that takes maybe 2 months, 2 or 3 months. Then I have between spring of next year and summer of next year to finish those revisions. Now I'm 33, right? I've done 3 passes in a year, whereas the first pass took 17 years. Well, then between June of 27 and the beginning of 28, well, now it's like, okay, well, now we need to, location scout. And what would that cost? And then storyboard and do all of the pre-production stuff. Then it comes to casting. Then it comes to assembling the team. Who's my director of photography? Who are my production assistants? Who's like a producer on this thing? How do I crowdfund? I know with like Kickstarter and Patreon, there are like tiers and rewards for people who like, an easy one to say is like, if you contribute to this film at this dollar amount, you get to be, you get free entrance into the theater when I air this. And then, there's also like, or you get this merch, or you get this update, you get like vlogs from the film set, which I think is actually a cool like Patreon type thing, where it's like if you're a contributor, you also get to see the behind the scenes while we're making the thing, which might be a fun thing for me as like just like a throwback to like how I used to create, because I used to do so many vlogs. It's very podcast styled. That's exciting. I want to keep that in mind. And then I look at like the film festivals, and then like, what does that mean on the back end? Like, what kind of points do people get? Like, if an actor got paid X amount to do this film, do they get movie? Like, if this film costs $30,000 to make and it makes $3 million, which whatever, I understand I'm being optimistic here, but I should be optimistic. I've never been optimistic about this. But what does that look like? Do they get royalties or residuals? Like, what do they? I don't know how that works. But now I want to start looking into that. I know I'm so many steps ahead. I need to just finish the script first. But like, I am more inspired to finish the film quickly so I can start, or finish the first pass of the script quickly, not lazily, not like hastily. I shouldn't speed through it just so it's done. Although there is part of that. I should also care about the story, and I want to make sure it's as good as it could possibly be. I don't want to rush it. But I'm so motivated now to look into all these other things that I need to be like, I want to have these on my mind as well so I can start getting ahead of it when the time comes. Man, I just want to make this movie so bad. I've always wanted to make this movie. And I thought, again, for so long, it was because, like, I can't wait for people to see this main character kill himself, And I guess, unfortunately, as a spoiler, that's not happening now. The character is not killing themselves. So you have that to look forward to or not look forward to or whatever. The reason I care about this story so much isn't because of that moment. It's because I care about following through. I care about the characters. I care about putting a win in my column. I have so many things that I haven't finished that, like, I believe in, that I've been too scared or lonely to make, or I've existed in this what is the point philosophy and that's not sustainable. That is not conducive to the creative process. And I don't know if I believe in me, but I believe in Alex and Jeremy, and I really want their story to be told. So, who even knows when that'll get made? But it's one step closer than it was, and that's huge for me. On the other side of art, when it comes to music, talk about getting way ahead of it here. On March 29th of this year, as in like 2 or so weeks from now, 3? I don't know. Sunday, March 29th at midnight, I'm releasing my first single as the group, the act To the Sea in 6 years. I've tossed out little like electronic demos that I think genuinely sucked butt. That it was just like, you know, when it comes to these scripts, I haven't put them out because I'm like, I'm just gonna kill myself, whatever. But when it comes to music, I've been like, who cares? The final version's never gonna be made, so let's just like put the demos out because I'm saying something in the demo or in the lyrics that I've been like, when I die, people are gonna go back and listen to this demo and they're gonna hear that I've been setting it up all this time and they should have known and whatever. I'm so insufferable. But those demos have been taken down now because I believe in my ability and my motivation to make them properly now. And I have a song on March 29th coming out called No Time at All that I think I wrote over Christmas of this past year. It's very close to that. I know I wrote it in December. For the most part, and maybe there's some nuance in here that we'll talk about at another time, it doesn't have much to do with Midwest Skies. I'm still in Midwest Skies. I'm still the drummer and one of the vocalists in Midwest Skies. We've got an unbelievably stacked 2026. We are so goddamn busy in 2026. So don't expect any changes this year when it comes to the Midwest Skies process. To the Sea exists independently from Midwest Skies. But because we're so busy, we haven't done much writing. And when I joined Midwest Skies, I was a fan of Midwest Skies. We've talked about this plenty of times. The first year I joined, we released Come Back For Me, which has been like, I mean, it's what we're known for at this point. If people know Midwest Skies, they know the song Come Back For Me. Then we released Setback the next year. And then later that year, we released Peach Rings, which was the first one that I wrote and just brought to the group. And I was like, here's a song that's done. Let's put this out. But that was September of 2024. The rest of 2024 passed us by. All of 2025 passed us by. And we haven't done a ton of writing. We certainly are not ready to release anything. So since I've been in this band, we've only released 3 songs. And a part of me is very frustrated by that. Excuse me. A part of me is very frustrated by that. But the other part of me, I get it. I get it. We're busy. You know, James also has a child. Kyle's got a very demanding job. You know, I've got a bunch of stuff going on. Obviously, music is not the only thing that I do. But I just really want to tell stories. I'm a storyteller. And part of that is like, I really want to release it in music form. I want to tell these stories in music form. And so, you know, if Come Back For Me is Kyle's song, and Setback is James's song, and Peach Rings is my song, and that's how it's going to go, is that each member gets a song every year, which is not how it's going to go necessarily. That's not how it goes all the time. It's just, if I'm looking at it through that lens, well, then I might have to wait 3 or 4 years to put a song out again. And that's just not something I'm really willing to entertain. it's very important to me to make music, to write songs, to tell stories. And I've got this vehicle to do that called To the Sea that has just been sitting around because I've been like, well, I can't really focus my attention on that because I've got Midwest Skies. To the Sea is not really, maybe one day I'd like to bring it live. I don't really foresee any live performances from that name, just because A, it's really difficult to get a bunch of musicians together to begin with. B, that means learning a bunch of songs that have already been written. C, that means like booking and whatever. And then it's like, who knows where I'm going to go, when. Maybe I won't be in Grand Rapids forever. So it would hurt me personally to form a group, to break up the group. And maybe that's not how you should look at things. Again, I have a very big problem with being present in a moment. But all that to say, if Midwest Skies is going to be so busy that we can't write and release music because we're doing so many shows, if To the Sea is not doing the shows, well then I'm going to use that as my vehicle to release music. So I got together with a friend of the show, Spencer Ziegler. He did incredible production on this. It's been a back and forth. I've asked for 1.5 billion revisions, and he's been very patient with me along the way. We know each other's kind of creative style well in advance because I directed music videos for his music projects. And we've also shot a few projects together. And so we can bounce off each other well enough, and we know that the revisions that one of us is asking for isn't a commentary on the other person. It's more of a commentary on, like, I want you to change this not because I think you're bad, but because I want to be represented this way. And the back and forth has been such that it got to a point where I'm now ready to release this song. It will be just this one song for a while. It's not an EP. I'm not immediately following it up with another release, though I have other songs in mind ready to go, ready to make in demo form. That would be cool to get out by the end of the year. Who knows if that will happen? I don't know. But no time at all. One thing at a time. No time at all. The second official song, official release, not in demo form, from To the Sea is coming out March 29th. I will include the link in the description to pre-save it. I don't know what that does, to be honest with you. Beyond maybe it lets Spotify know that people are interested in this song in advance, and so you have like a higher likelihood of being like on some like new release playlists and new release radars and whatever. I don't know what the hell to call my genre. It's alt rock, post rock. I was told that some old stuff sounded like new wave. I don't really know what that means. There is sometimes synth in my music, but this is drums, guitar, vocals, some like synthy stuff happening, but it's not a synth song. But no time at all, March 29th. You can pre-save it by clicking the link in the description, tapping the link in the description if you're on your phone. And I'm very proud of it, not just because like it's something I did by myself. I wrote the guitar, I wrote the drums, I wrote the vocals, or wrote the lyrics. I just realized, lately, I've been clicking my pen a lot on the podcast. I really need a little fidget toy because I'm sure you guys can hear that over and over and over again, and I apologize for that. I don't realize I'm doing it until it's dead quiet, and then I go. So if you've been hearing that this entire podcast, I'm sorry. Hopefully you called me out in the comments. Anyway, this song is coming out March 29th, and I'm not proud of it just because I think it's good, but also because it's done. And I was brave, and I believed in myself, and I was frustrated enough with the creative process that I'm like, God damn it, I'm sick of being motivated to make something. I'm doing it now. Right now, there is this urgency I have in my life to make things, because who knows how long I'm going to be motivated to do it. I want to make it all. I want to make movies. I want to make music. I want to make music videos for that music. I want to make some short films. I want to be a part of immersive experiences. I want to do art because God damn it, I'm an artist. And so much of my life has just wasted that potential, being sad, thinking that I'm going to kill myself. Is this another goddamn fighter jet? It is. Are they bombing Michigan? What is going on? It's not a fighter jet. Oh, it is. But it's going very slow. I don't like that. This is confusing to me. Anyway, son of a bitch, I'm an artist. And what do artists do? They art. They make things. And I just want to make things. Because again, so much of my life has been like, why make the thing? You're just going to kill yourself. Well, if I don't make the thing, I'm going to kill myself. I have to do it. I have to do it for me. And if that's motivation strictly based in like fear, well, then fear is a powerful motivator. And I'm using it. I'm doing it. And I'm not waiting for anybody. I am up against my own deadlines. And if that deadline is flatlining, well, I better hurry up. I could get hit by a bus today. What else? Did I make any notes? I mean, speaking of the fighter jets, we're at war. Nah, I shouldn't talk about that. I could talk about that for too long, and I gotta be honest, I'm not really in the mood right now to talk about war. But you know I'll do it. Oh, I'll do it. And the thing is, if I talk about anything today, it'll likely be outdated or changed by tomorrow. So, if I must, the whole fucking thing is stupid. It's a pointless holy war based on a bunch of crocs of shit from both sides, all sides. US, Israel, and Iran, they're all fucking dumb fighting these goddamn holy wars. While the rest of us go, is gas really $4 a gallon right now? Back in the day, there was this little guy. I think he was heading to work or maybe heading to school or something. I don't remember. And either in person or on television, he saw the Twin Towers get struck. And it scarred him so much that he's like, I need to write a little poem about this. And he turned that poem into a song. It was Gerard Way, and he started the band My Chemical Romance. The Twin Towers, the terrorist attack on 9/11, inspired one of the greatest emo bands of all time to make art. And you know what? If life is cyclical, if history repeats itself, I'm not a boy anymore. But if there's a war going on, I'm making some fucking art. Because what else am I going to do? Literally, what else am I going to do? My voice ain't going to stop it. Your individual voice ain't going to stop it. The philosophy of keep going is not just like, keep going, you can do it. It's like, keep going, you don't have any other option. And with that, thank you for listening to the A.D.H. Deep Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. I'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. I think the next episode will technically come out before the song comes out. But again, pre-saves are important for some reason. I don't know. But if you would, please, if you listen on Spotify, click my DistroKid link in the description. It is the distribution platform that I upload to, and then it goes to the Spotify, the Apple Music, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Snapchats, the other obscure streaming services, the Shazams, the whatever. And pre-saves will help DistroKid and Spotify and whatever know that, oh, people are interested in this song before it even comes out. Maybe more people will be interested when it does come out. So just pre-save it. let the people know. And then if I don't see you before it comes out, which I will, but just let me know what you think. All right? Make art. Fuck war. All right. Thank you very much for joining the A.D.H. Deep Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund, and I will see you next time. Love you, bye.